Moonlight touched her skin and the alien girl couldn't control herself anymore. Ethan had traveled across many alien worlds, but this one felt different. The air was soft, the trees tall and blue, and the skies held 2 silver moons that rose slowly together. He had been sent to map the area for a future human colony, but what he found was not just trees and rivers, it was her. Her name was Rylu. She was an alien girl from a hidden forest tribe. Her skin had a soft violet glow, her hair long and dark like a waterfall in the night. Her eyes were large, shining like the moons above. She spoke few words, but watched everything. Ethan didn't understand her language fully, but somehow they communicated, slowly, carefully, with signs, smiles, and short phrases learned over the days they spent near each other. Rylu had one rule, one thing she warned him about more than anything else. When moon's full, I stay away, she said one evening, her voice shaking slightly. You too, stay far. Ethan had laughed a little, not unkindly. Why? You turn into a werewolf or something. She didn't smile. Her eyes were serious. Not joke, not safe, not for me. He respected her words, but the warning stayed in the back of his mind, like a story from an old tale. Not real, just strange, and maybe cultural. Something deep, maybe religious. The day the twin moons aligned in the sky. Ethan was setting up camp by the edge of a glowing lake. He lit a small fire and sat back with his scanner, taking notes on plant life. He hadn't seen Rylu all day, but he knew she was nearby. He always felt her presence now, like the way you feel a bird watching from the trees. Night fell fast on this planet, and the moons began to rise. 2 glowing silver orbs slowly climbed above the trees, spilling bright light across the forest floor. That was when he heard a branch snap behind him. He turned, and there she was, Rylu. But something was wrong. She wasn't standing tall and calm like before. Her knees were shaking, her breath quick and loud. Her skin, which usually glowed softly, was now shining, pulsing even, like moonlight had entered her veins. Rylu, he asked, standing up, concerned. What's going on? Are you hurt? She backed away fast, her hands out. No. Don't come. Moon, touch me. I can't control. Her voice was broken, heavy, like it hurt to speak. She stumbled against a tree and let out a soft cry. Her hands pressed into the ground, her back arched slightly as if fighting something inside her. Her eyes, those soft, curious eyes, were now wide with fear and something else. Hunger. Ethan froze. His mind raced. Was she sick? Was it a transformation? Was this what she had warned about? I told you, she whispered, trying to crawl away. Go. Far. But Ethan didn't move. Something about the moment held him in place. It wasn't just fear or confusion. It was the way her body reacted, the way the light from the moons danced across her skin. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. He took one step forward. Rylu, I don't understand, but I want to help, she cried out, louder this time, her body shaking violently. Don't touch. If you touch, I lose control. Suddenly, the wind shifted, and the moonlight fell directly on her. Her whole body lit up like silver fire. Her breathing grew heavier, and her limbs trembled more. She let out a low, soft sound that was not pain but something else entirely. Ethan stepped back slowly. His instincts were screaming, but he couldn't look away. Rylu's body was glowing like she was made of stars, and yet she looked like she was burning inside. She wasn't just reacting, she was transforming emotionally, physically, deeply. Please, she whispered one last time, her voice almost gone. Don't let Moon see me again. Then she turned and ran into the forest, disappearing into the shadows. Ethan stood alone in the clearing, fire crackling behind him, the moons still rising above. The night was quiet again, but his heart was racing. He looked down at the spot where she had knelt. The grass was still glowing faintly, like her touch had marked the earth itself. He had seen something real, something powerful, something not even the human science books could explain. And he knew one thing now for sure. Railu had a secret tied to the moons, and, next time, if he didn't understand it better, it could destroy her, and maybe it could destroy him too. Ethan couldn't sleep that night. The image of Railu under the moonlight kept returning in his mind, her body glowing, trembling, her voice full of fear and desperation. Something ancient had awakened in her, and he had seen it. He wasn't supposed to. She had warned him again and again. But now it was too late. He packed up early and followed her trail through the forest. It wasn't hard. Her glowing footprints had left faint silver marks on the ground, as if the moonlight inside her had spilled with each step. He didn't know where she was going, but something told him she didn't want to be found at least not by anyone from her own kind. By mid-morning, he found a stream running through a narrow valley. Just ahead, half hidden behind a curtain of vines, was a small stone structure. It looked ancient, overgrown, untouched by time. That's where she was, curled up near the edge, her arms wrapped around her knees, her glow now soft and fading like dying embers. He didn't speak, just sat down a few steps away, letting the silence speak first. Finally, she looked at him, her eyes tired and red. Not from tears, but from holding back something powerful. You followed, she said softly, almost as if surprised he would. You ran, Ethan replied. I was scared for you. She looked away, her voice bitter. You should be scared of me. Ethan shook his head. No, I'm not scared of you. I'm scared of what you're going through alone. She was quiet again, then sighed deeply. It started when I was young. First moonlight, I screamed all night. My mother held me down. She told me what I was, what we all were. She looked at her hands, as if they were not her own. Our bodies carry moon heat. It's inside, sleeping, until light wakes it. Is it a disease? Ethan asked gently. No, she whispered. It is a calling, a curse, a bond. He waited, letting her go at her own pace. When moonlight touches us, it burns our control. We feel heat, need, power. Shame, she said. If a male is near, and we do not resist, we change. Ethan felt a chill. Change how? She looked at him sharply. We bond, she said, forever. No choice. No freedom. The body chooses. The mind breaks. Ethan's breath caught. And last night, I almost bonded, she admitted, her voice shaking. But I ran. I fought it. I didn't want to trap you. He understood now why she had warned him, why she had begged him not to come close. If he had touched her last night, if he had even tried to help her up, why me? He asked. Why humans? She bit her lip, her gaze dropping again. Our tribe says humans are more matched. The moon responds stronger when near your kind. Maybe because you come from a sun world. Maybe because your bodies are not like ours, so that's why your people stay away from us. She nodded slowly. Yes, they fear we'll lose control, mix blood, break tradition. Ethan looked around the small cave, the green vines, the quiet stream nearby. But what about you? Do you believe it's wrong? Railu hesitated, then looked up. I don't know what's right or wrong anymore. I just know I don't want to be controlled, not by the moon, not by my body, not by my people. Ethan nodded. Then we figure it out together. She gave him a strange look, as if unsure whether to believe him or not. You'd risk it. You'd stay near me, knowing what could happen. I've seen worse. Ethan smiled gently. Besides, maybe I'm not afraid of glowing girls under moonlight. A soft laugh escaped her lips. Her first real smile since the night before. But that smile faded quickly, as a sound echoed through the trees, sharp, rhythmic, growing louder. Railu jumped to her feet. No, they're here. Who? Ethan asked, standing with her. My tribe, she said, her voice low and afraid. They must have felt the moonlight pulse. They know I activated. They'll come to take me, or punish me. What do we do? He asked. She looked at him, her eyes full of panic. We run, without waiting. She grabbed his hand, and pulled him deeper into the forest, and though her touch was brief, Ethan felt the heat rise between them again. The moon might be gone for now, but its fire was still burning inside her, and the chase had only just begun. Ethan had never run like that before, not even during combat drills back on Earth. The forest was thick, alive with strange, glowing plants and soft buzzing sounds. But none of that mattered now. Rylu moved quickly, despite the fear in her eyes, her bare feet barely touching the ground. Every few steps she looked back, listening for the tribe, for the ones who would drag her back into silence. They finally stopped deep in a narrow canyon, hidden beneath thick roots and rock overhangs. Rylu collapsed against a mossy boulder, breathing hard. Ethan crouched beside her, his heart pounding. They hunt by scent and heat, she whispered. They'll find us before nightfall. Ethan looked around, scanning with his handheld device. The cliffs were steep, the passage narrow, perfect for hiding, but dangerous if they were cornered. He checked his backpack, counting supplies, water, an emergency light flare, one heat blanket, no weapons, nothing useful against what might come next. We can't run forever, he said. We need to know what we're dealing with. Rylu swallowed hard, her voice low. My people have a Ru-Leni female who activates under the moonlight, must return before sunrise. If not, she is considered a danger. A danger to who? Ethan asked. To the tribe, to tradition, to herself, she said. They believe the moon heat can twist a female's mind if left too long. They think we become wild, uncontrolled. Ethan frowned. But you're not wild. You're scared. Rylu met his eyes, something sharp behind her gaze. I'm both. Ethan didn't know what to say. He had faced war, betrayal, even space pirates, but nothing like this. A girl fighting her own nature, while her people wanted to erase her. All because she glowed in moonlight. Why don't you just hide until it passes? He asked gently. Rylu looked down at her hands. Because it doesn't pass. Not fully. Once it starts, it grows each cycle. Stronger. The only way to stop it is to bond. Ethan went silent. He had heard that word before. She said it like it meant the end of freedom. Not love, not choice, but a lock, a chain. Rylu didn't want that. She wanted to choose her life, not be trapped by biology or tradition. Suddenly, a sharp click echoed above them like metal scraping rock. Rylu froze, then whispered, "Hunters." Before Ethan could react, a figure appeared on the ledge above, tall and masked, with glowing blue markings on his armor. Then another, and another. Their eyes scanned the canyon. Unblinking, two of them dropped down silently, holding curved staffs that pulsed with strange energy. Rylu grabbed Ethan's arm. Don't speak. Don't move. They smell fear. But it was too late. One of the hunters tilted his head, then stepped forward. His voice was calm but cold. Rylu, of the Greylight clan. You have broken the law of the moons. She stood up slowly, placing herself between them and Ethan. I was trying to protect others. The heat came faster than I expected. You were seen, the hunter said. You were witnessed by a human. That alone demands judgment. Ethan stepped forward. She didn't hurt anyone. She ran away from me. The hunter turned his head slightly. Surprised, Ethan spoke. You are not of our blood. You have no right to speak in this. Then you're going to punish her for something she couldn't control. Ethan growled. For being seen. The second hunter moved fast, pressing the end of his staff to Ethan's chest. A soft electric pulse making him stagger back. Rylu screamed, stepping in front of him again. Enough, the first hunter said. She will come with us now, or the sentence will double. Rylu's hands trembled. She looked at Ethan, then back at the hunters. Then, something inside her shifted. Her back straightened, her voice steady. I will not go with you. You refuse the call of the elders, the lead hunter asked, shocked. I refuse the shame, she said. The heat is mine. My body is mine, and I will not be judged by those who fear what they don't understand. The hunters hesitated, Surprised by her defiance, Ethan stepped beside her, breathing hard. "We're not running anymore." The lead hunter stared at Railu for a long moment, then slowly lowered his weapon. "Then you will both face the trial of flame and ice." Railu's eyes widened. "No, that's a death sentence." Ethan didn't flinch. "What is it?" The hunter's voice was calm. "If he survives, he earns your bond with honor. If he fails, the moon takes you both." And just like that, the choice was no longer far away. It had arrived, wrapped in ancient rules, glowing eyes, and fire, waiting just ahead. The path to the trial was silent, but heavy like thunder waiting to fall. Ethan walked beside Railu, their hands not touching. Yet something between them had already connected deeper than words, deeper than fear. Around them, the forest shifted, no longer wild and open, but shaped, controlled. The trees bending inward, as if the land itself obeyed the tribe's rituals. The hunters led them through a glowing canyon, marked with tall totems carved with faces, some calm, some twisted in agony. Railu avoided looking at them, but Ethan stared, wondering how many had walked this path before him, and how few had returned. No one spoke until they reached the stone gate carved into the canyon wall. Old and massive, it groaned open by itself, revealing a circular arena carved into the rock. Fire blazed on one side, ice steamed on the other, and in the middle a simple stone platform, waiting like a judgment seat. "The trial begins when the moons rise," said the lead hunter, stepping back. "If the male survives the crossing, the bond will be accepted, and the girl's curse considered tamed." Ethan narrowed his eyes. "And if I don't, then your death cools her blood," the hunter said, "and she is sent to the exile lands." Railu stepped forward, her voice shaking. "He shouldn't have to do this. It's my body, my moon, my fault." The elder hunter looked at her, without emotion. "Then perhaps you should have burned alone in the forest." Before she could respond, Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder. Gently, "I'll do it," he said softly. "Not for your tribe, but for you." She turned to him, eyes wide, glowing again, not with heat, but something close to heartbreak. "You don't even know what this trial is." Ethan smiled, though his face was pale. "Fire and ice, right? Just another Tuesday for a human." When night fell, the twin moons rose above the arena, spilling silver light down onto the stone. The heat from the fire pit surged like a furnace, while the ice side breathed cold mist into the air, like a frozen ghost. Ethan stepped forward, stripped off his outer jacket, and looked at the path ahead. The trial was simple: cross from one end to the other, survive both extremes, reach the center, and stand in the moonlight. But nothing in his training had prepared him for this kind of survival. He stepped onto the fireside first, the stone burning his feet through his boots. Flames licked close, and the heat stole his breath. The air turned to smoke, and his skin began to blister. He gritted his teeth and kept walking, step by step. As the flames danced higher with every second, Railu watched, her hands over her mouth, every part of her screaming to run to him, but she couldn't. If she interfered, the trial would end in death for both. Ethan stumbled into the middle platform, coughing, skin red and raw, but still standing. He turned toward the ice side, his body already weakened, stepped forward. The cold hit him like a wall of knives. Frost crawled up his arms, his breath turned to mist, his muscles screamed, and his vision blurred. One step, 2, 3. The air became thinner, sharper, his lips cracked, fingers shaking. Then his knees buckled. "Get up," Railu whispered. "Please." He tried to move, but his legs wouldn't listen. Then he thought of her voice in the forest, her warning, her fear, the way she glowed under the moon, not with danger, but with life. And something inside him roared, not with rage, but with refusal. He pushed up, feet sliding, hands freezing to the stone, and crawled the final distance. His body collapsed at the center, right where the two moons shined down together. Light covered him silver white and burning, The arena fell silent. The hunters lowered their weapons, their faces unreadable. Railu ran to him, falling to her knees, pressing her hands against his chest. His heart still beat weak but steady. His eyes slowly opened, and he gave her a broken grin. Told you. Just Tuesday. The elder hunter stepped forward and bowed his head slightly. The trial is passed. The bond is earned. Railu looked down at Ethan, tears falling silently, but her voice was strong. Then let it be a bond of choice, not just tradition. The wind shifted, and the forest beyond the gate stirred. For the first time, something ancient had bent not under the weight of fire or ice, but under the will of a girl who refused to burn alone, and the human who dared to walk through it all for her. Ethan spent the next 2 days between sleep and pain, lying inside a sun-warmed tent at the edge of the tribe's healing grounds. His skin was cracked, lips dry, fingertips numb, but he was alive. Barely. Railu never left his side, not even once. She fed him drop by drop, wiped sweat from his face, and whispered stories of her world legends, stars. Forgotten truths he could barely hear through the haze. The tribe watched from a distance, some with awe, some with disgust, in their eyes. Railu was still dangerous, a girl whose body had responded to the moons too strongly, too quickly, and Ethan, he was the invader who had crossed a sacred trial not meant for his kind. But no one could deny what they'd seen. The human had survived what many full-blooded warriors could not. On the third morning, Ethan opened his eyes fully, blinking. At the soft light above, Railu leaned over him, her eyes tired but warm. "You're awake," she whispered. He tried to speak but coughed instead. She held a water pouch to his lips. He drank slowly, the cool liquid a gift more precious than gold. "You shouldn't have done it," she said quietly. "You could have died." Ethan gave a faint grin. "Yeah, but then I wouldn't get to hear your voice like this." Railu smiled, but shook her head. "You joke too much, human." He tried to sit up, winced, then laid back. "What happens now?" Railu hesitated, looking out toward the trees. "Now the trial is complete. The bond is recognized. So we're bonded?" he asked. She nodded slowly. "Yes, in the eyes of the tribe. But what about your eyes?" he asked, voice low. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she leaned closer, brushing his burnt hand with her fingers. "My eyes have seen things they never believed possible." Before Ethan could speak again, shouting erupted outside the tent. A drumbeat followed, low and heavy, the sounds of war, not celebration. Railu stood up fast, her eyes narrowing. No, this can't be." Ethan pushed himself up with effort. "What's happening?" She turned to him, voice sharp. "Another clan. The Red Crest. They've heard about the trial. They don't accept a human passing it. They're coming to challenge the bond by force." Ethan's breath caught. "Challenge it how?" "By fire," she said. "By combat. If they defeat the bonded one Ute, they erase the bond. They say the moons made a mistake." Ethan groaned. "Of course. Ancient space rules and angry aliens. Just what I needed." Railu knelt beside him, her voice shaking now. "You can't fight in this state. They'll kill you before you stand." "Then what do we do?" he asked. She looked torn between choices, her fists clenching. "There's a second law, rarely used. If the female stands in defense of the bonded, it counts." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "You mean you fight?" She nodded, eyes burning with determination. "I've trained in secret. I know how to move, how to strike, but I've never been tested in real combat. Railu, if you lose, then they take me away," she said, "and you'll never see me again." Ethan tried to sit up again, pain burning through him. "No, I won't let you," she pressed, her hand gently over his heart. "You walked through fire and ice for me. Let me fight fire now for you." The horns outside grew louder. Red Crest warriors arrived at the edge of the village. Tall and armored in black and red metal, their leader stood with glowing eyes and a massive spear, twice his height. He pointed toward the tent. "Bring out the human." he shouted. Let us see if the moons truly favor his weak blood. Rylu stepped outside, alone. The villagers gasped as they saw her dressed in light ceremonial armor, her long dark hair tied back, her expression hard as steel. I stand for him, she said, her voice echoing across the camp. I am the moon's choice, and I will not be erased. The Red Crest leader laughed. You think the glow in your veins makes you strong enough to face me? She raised her chin. No, but my will does, Ethan, weak but burning with pride. Dragged himself to the edge of the tent, watching her face the warrior twice her size. Rylu didn't shake, didn't blink. As the duel began, Ethan realized something. This trial wasn't about just proving strength. It was about rewriting what strength even meant, and she was writing a new legend with every breath, every step, and he knew, win or lose. The moonlight had chosen well. The wind changed just before the first strike, carrying with it the scent of old earth and burning sky. Rylu stood perfectly still. Her fingers curled tight around the short twin blades strapped to her forearms. The Red Crest warrior, a beast of muscle and metal named Varak, grinned beneath his cracked helmet, confident, towering, certain this moonburned girl, was no threat. Ethan watched from the tent's shadow, propped up by two tribe healers who whispered warnings for him not to move, but he couldn't tear his eyes away. Rylu didn't glance back, didn't even acknowledge the crowd forming around the ancient circle. This wasn't just for Ethan anymore. This was for every girl forced to hide when the moons rose, for every whispered story of heat and shame, for every moment her people said control but meant silence. Varak struck first, fast. His spear sliced through the air like lightning, but Rylu wasn't there. She had moved before the blow finished falling, her body fluid as smoke. Her foot landed hard against his side, knocking him slightly off balance. The crowd gasped. Some cheered. Others frowned. She had dared to touch a warrior. You danced like wind, Varak growled. But wind can be crushed. Rylu didn't answer. Her blades gleamed briefly as she leaped again, striking low this time, carving sparks from his armored shin. Varak roared and slammed his fist toward her. She twisted away, his blow landing on stone, cracking it clean down the middle. Ethan's fists were clenched, every nerve in his battered body screaming with each move she made. This was beyond training. Now this was survival, not just hers, but his, because he could see it in the Red Crest's eyes. If she lost, they wouldn't just take herd, they'd erase the bond violently, and him with it. Varak began to adapt, swinging wider, forcing her to back up. His strength was overwhelming, a living storm of brute force. But Rylu didn't rely on strength. She used timing, memory, and something deeper, fire, born from fear, but forged into purpose. One wrong step, and he clipped her shoulder, the blade on his spear slicing into her skin. She staggered, her knees dipping, and the crowd's cheer shifted into silence. Rylu knelt, breathing hard, blood trailing down her arm. Varak stepped forward, ready to deliver the final blow. Then it happened. The moonlight broke through the clouds again, pouring down like silver rain. It touched her skin, and she glowed, not with panic, not with heat, but with command. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. It wasn't like the first time, where the glow had taken control. This time, she was in control. Rylu rose slowly, the wound on her arm steaming slightly. Her eyes locked on Varak, and in her stance, there was no fear left, only fire. She ran straight at him, her blades singing. Varak swung with all his power, but she slipped beneath it, turned, and with one clean motion, slid both blades across the backs of his knees. He crashed down to one knee with a scream. Her foot came up, hit his jaw, sent him rolling across the stone. The circle fell silent. Even the Red Crest warriors were frozen. Varak coughed blood, tried to rise, failed. Rylu stepped forward, placing a blade to his throat. Yield, she said, not loudly, but it echoed. Varak growled, but didn't move. Then, Slowly, his hand opened and tapped the stone submission. The crowd gasped. The Red Crest elder stepped forward reluctantly, his voice hard. By our code, the bond stands. The Greylight tribe didn't cheer, not yet. They simply stared at her, as if they didn't recognize her anymore. A girl they once made eat alone, now standing as protector of a human, bearer of moonlight, and breaker of old. La Railu turned, her eyes searching the crowd until they locked with Ethan's. She didn't smile, but her eyes burned with something he'd never seen before. Not fear, not shame, just strength. Later that night, back inside the tent, Ethan lay awake. His body still healing. Railu sat beside him, her arm freshly bandaged. A quiet fire between them. You controlled it, he said softly. The moonlight. She nodded slowly. Maybe the moon doesn't make us monsters. Maybe it just shows us what we're capable of. Ethan smiled, eyes half closed. Then remind me never to make you mad. She chuckled, a soft sound like wind through leaves. Only if you stop trying to save me all the time. I don't save you, he whispered. I just follow you into trouble. She looked at him, quiet for a moment. And I'm glad you did. Outside, the moons continued their path across the stars, but they no longer burned her blood the way they used to. This time, they warmed her from the inside, because now, she wasn't running from the light, she was becoming it. The moons had nearly completed their final pass, and the festival fires of the Greylight clan were burning low. A strange stillness had settled over the village, not from fear or sorrow, but something newer, heavier, something like change. Railu sat at the edge of a cliff overlooking the glowing lake, her armor folded beside her, her feet bare. Her body still ached, her shoulder tightly wrapped, but the pain reminded her she was alive, whole, and no longer anyone's secret. Below, villagers gathered near the water, whispering stories about the girl who had once been warned never to be seen under moonlight, and who now walked openly beneath it, unharmed, behind her footsteps. Approached, not rushed, not loud, but steady, familiar. Ethan leaned against a thick tree trunk, still walking with a limp but refusing help from the healers. He held a small data tablet in one hand, scanning the stars above with its tracking lens. They're sending a ship for me in 4 days, he said. The Human Council wants a full report. I might get promoted for this. Railu didn't answer right away, just stared at the moonlight dancing on the lake. Will you go? She asked quietly. Ethan exhaled slowly. That depends. Do I go as someone who survived an alien trial, or as someone who bonded with a girl from a forgotten tribe? Railu turned her head slightly. Maybe you go as both. He moved closer and sat beside her. I've seen a lot of stars, a lot of species, and I've survived some real messes. But I've never met someone who glows under moonlight and still chooses to stay in control. She gave him a soft, sideways smile. I never had a reason to try before you came. They sat in silence for a while, letting the breeze fill the spaces between their thoughts. Then Railu spoke. There's something I haven't told you. Ethan looked at her. What? The bond, she said, eyes fixed ahead. It's not just ceremonial. If the moons shine on both of us again, during the full cycle, the connection becomes permanent, real, physical, emotional, complete. Ethan blinked. What does that mean exactly? She glanced at him, voice quiet. It means even across galaxies. I'll feel you, you'll feel me. If one of us is in danger, the other will know. If one of us dies, the other will feel the breaking. Ethan leaned back, silent. The idea, both amazed and frightened him. A connection that couldn't be erased, not by time, not by distance, not even by death. So we'd be linked, he said, truly bonded. Forever. She nodded. Yes, that's why many fear it. That's why I feared it. And now? He asked gently. Railu stood slowly and held out her hand. Her eyes caught the moonlight, shimmering like molten silver. Now I choose it. If you do. Ethan stared at her hand, then at the moons above. glowing twin lights that had caused so much fear and desire and confusion. They had pushed Rylu to the edge and pulled him across fire and ice, but maybe, just maybe, they weren't curses. Maybe they were mirrors, showing what people tried to hide. He took her hand. The moment their fingers touched, the light shifted, not around them, but between them. A pulse of silver traveled from her skin to his, then back again, soft and warm, like breath shared between souls. Neither of them spoke, because the bond didn't need words. Down below, the villagers saw the glow and dropped to one knee. The Red Crest warriors, once proud and cruel, watched in stunned silence. Even the old elders lowered their heads, not in shame, but respect. The moons had chosen. The fire between them had not consumed, had refined. Later that night, when Ethan closed his eyes beside Rylu beneath the stars, he didn't dream of Earth, or promotion, or medals. He dreamed of Moonlight and the girl who had once begged him not to see her change. Now, she let him see everything, and it was more than beautiful. It was home.